Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Libby. Hello, Mike and Patsy. Hi, welcome. So I guess here we are at the end of the cabin fever challenge. Thought because this is the final one, regardless of how big or small our group is, that that we might talk a little more about things related to stall catchers and the challenge itself. And in particular, I thought it might make sense to talk about Alzheimer's disease, something I don't actually usually talk about. I talk about, the work that we're doing to find a cure for Alzheimer's and that kind of thing. And so I guess what got me thinking about it was I was just sort of reflecting on the current state of affairs. We're all kind of in lockdown mode and social distancing and so on. And it occurred to me, and I'm speaking as someone who has not been a caregiver for someone with Alzheimer's disease, but I've through the course of this project, I've had a chance to become pretty close with folks who have been in that situation and hear their stories. And that when you're caregiving for someone with Alzheimer's disease, it's like a 24/7 job, and you're stuck in your house most of the time, very isolated. You don't have a lot of outside social contact. I met a woman at an Alzheimer's block party in Boston. Actually, was the block party that Steve and Judy Johansson hosted. You might remember Judy and Steve from the Crowd in the Cloud documentary about the project, and Steve had Alzheimer's, and then eventually passed away from it. But at that block party, I sat next to a woman. They had this huge buffet table. It's the longest long table I've seen. There's this like Native American kind of culture around everyone sitting at the long table as a way to come together as a community. So I loved this long table motif, and it was the longest table, I guess, on the longest day. This is this Alzheimer's construct of the longest day, and it was like, I mean, it had to be 50 meters long, and I ended up sitting next to this woman who told me about her experience being a caregiver for her father, where she had to quit her job just to have the time to be able to take care of him. And it sounded like, and I guess he had some different kinds of sensitivities. There wasn't a lot of space. They were in close quarters. He couldn't have a lot of light on. Sleep was kind of an issue sometimes. And so she had to be in a dark room a lot of the time. And her only window to the world, as she described it, was the internet. That was the only contact she had with the outside world, was through kind of surfing the web, and she was isolated like this for I think at least 2 years. And it's like when she emerged from that, it was like stepping outside for the first time, and so just reflecting on this whole thing that we're experiencing in terms of social distancing and lockdown reminded me of her story. And I thought, wow, we're getting a small taste through this experience of what it must be like, some aspect of what it must be like to be so isolated, always around the same people all the time, and just maybe kind of a some lens of appreciation about what it's like to go through something like that. So that just felt like kind of a meaningful connection. It's the convergence of here we are, we're all kind of isolated more in some sense, and oops, we got a few more people joining, and so now we're we're at least using that time in this very kind of directing our energies in positive ways to help with the research. Welcome, Agla and Caroline. Sorry, you were probably sitting there for a minute before I realized and finally admitted you to the meeting. I wish I could just kind of let everyone just automatically get admitted, but anyone who was here on the first Hangout will realize why I can't do that. Oh, the other thing I want to do is I wanted to show you all this thing. I don't know if you can see my daughter comes in here every once in a while, and she draws on the whiteboard. She's 12 years old. So recently she came in, and and I was trying to get my work done for the day, and she was kind of being rambunctious, and she started taking the markers and painting the tips of her fingers with the markers. And eventually she took one of her fingers that was completely covered in red ink, and then she just pushed it onto that spot, and she started to study her fingerprint. She actually drew a version of her fingerprint up here in the large that was a pretty good replica of the exact pattern of her fingerprint. But then she decided to erase that. But she then made some comments here, rarest fingerprint. I love that. And don't touch, smell, eat, or breathe on it. It can't be replaced. And and it's so true. Every fingerprint is like that. And again, this got me sort of thinking, in this realm of Alzheimer, we have kind of a mental print. It's all the things about us that make us unique. A brain print, a mind print, I don't know what to call it. And everything she said about her fingerprint, is doubly true about our mind prints, I think. They can't be replaced. And they are the rarest. Each one is the only example of itself in the world. And what we're doing here, I think, with stall catchers and the Cornell researchers and everyone who participated in this challenge is we're trying to save those mind prints. We're trying to figure out a way to save them and make them last as long as we possibly can, because that's what gives us our uniqueness, what makes each person special. So anyway, I don't usually wax philosophical like this, but I thought for this final hangout that that it would be appropriate to talk about the thing we're actually trying to solve, and express my gratitude to everyone on the hangout and everyone who's not on the hangout who participated in the Cabin Fever Challenge, and everyone who's ever contributed to stall catchers in any way, and that includes a whole lot of people. I want to take a brief moment to especially thank Agla for suggesting that we have this challenge, for curating it, for collecting the data every day to post, and posting all the blog posts about it, and keeping everyone looped in. And so if it weren't for Agla, we wouldn't have had this challenge, and I'm very grateful to her for making this happen. So as a next order of business, I have a list of cabin fever challenge statistics that I'd like to report on. Again, thanks to Agla. And so I'm going to start with the individual results. So let's start with the individual results. So the number one, the team results. So the number one team, wow, it's kind of a close race for the first place position, but the number one team is testing with over 51 million points. And if I can see this, over 39,000 research movies annotated. If my memory serves me, I think that could be a one-person team. Maybe someone else who's been participating in the challenge can weigh in on this, but I'm pretty sure at least Bad Stalls Bad is one of the main contributors on that team. So a huge congratulations and thanks to Team Testing for this tremendous contribution. And then the number two, I'll go 3 deep on this. Number 2 is memory cafes. And I think that includes at least Dave and maybe Mike. Were you part of that team as well? Yeah, so Mike Caprero and then Dave from the Memory Cafes, and that's a tremendous contribution. 41 million points, and most importantly, 30,413 research movies. And then the third place team is Chrissy with a very solid 24 million points, 17,640 movies, research movies. So it's really great amount of research getting done. The teams go pretty deep here in this leaderboard. We'll I think Agla, if she hasn't already, she'll post the final results from all this stuff. But just a tremendous showing. I think this is, I haven't seen this many teams participating in a challenge in quite a long time. So it's really fun when you see a bunch of teams getting involved that represent people working together. All right, now we'll look at the individual results. And I'm just checking the chat just to see, feel free to chime in too if you have any comments to make, or you can add to the chat. I'll make sure no one else is in the waiting room here. So, all right, we'll move right on to the individual results. In first place, Bad Stalls Bad, who remarkably has exactly the same number of points in research movies analyzed as Team Testing. Certainly a one-man show there, and just such a great contribution to the amount of work that we're getting done here. Congratulations to Bad, as he's known for short. Mike Caprero, Caparam, who's joining us here on the Hangout, is in a solid second place, 40 million points, almost 30 million movies. And then Christian is in third place, and with 24 million, over 24 million points, 17,640 research movies. And I have to apologize right here and now to Christiane, because I think we posted something about the timing of the double points for today, AM instead of PM, or PM instead of AM, or something like that. And I think Christiane is in a different time zone, whereby had it actually been the other way around, then that would have made extra points available in that time zone. And I think he woke up, in the middle of the night to try to get those double points, and they weren't available. And I just we'll have to figure out some way to make that up to you, and I apologize for that. Let's see, we've got. And I think Agla had something to say about that. So moving on to the next results, we have schools. So there was a sort of a schools league, and all the schools were competing with each other. The first place school team, there were 8 different schools. I'm going to say all of them because, by golly, I really appreciate the schools participating. So we had ring catchers. This is in order: first place and down, ring catchers, HB Woodlawn 7th grade stall catchers. And Agla, I'm going to have to ask you, is the Woodlawn one, is that Samantha's school? So Sam's been working with us as sort of an advisor on how we approach the education stuff with stall catchers, and brought stall catchers to her science fairs and so on. Yeah, Agla confirms that's Sam's team. Yeah, so that's really great to see them continuing to participate. We really appreciate that loyalty and longevity with the project. So let's see, going back, then we have Drake's with an exclamation point in third, Cadet 62459, Tutopolis Wooden Shoes, Unioto Citizen Science Team, PA Bulldogs, and Girl Scout Troop 2329. So that's all the school teams, and thanks so much to the schools for participating in this challenge. I think we have a little more specific information about the ring catchers. they're a Belgian school in the university city of Leuven. I'm not going to say that right. Libby, you could probably say it correctly where I'm messing that up. Can you tell us how to pronounce that? Or do you don't know how it's spelled? I have to tell you how it's spelled. Do you know it?
Maybe Leuven, but I don't know.
There we go. Yeah, I'm gonna go with what you just said and not try to repeat it. So congratulations again to the ring catchers. They're students aged 12 to 18 in a general education program that has a STEM department, and I think it's the STEM department was participating there. What have we got next? We've got, after schools, we have libraries. So this is just, I'm so glad that we connected with the libraries through the Megathon event last year, and Caroline, you were such a huge part of making that connection. And I see some libraries on here that are from that event, and I'm also excited to see we've got some brand new libraries on here. I think Orchard Park is new, and yeah, I see a few other ones I don't recognize, so I think we've got a really good mix here. So congratulations to the LA Public Library System, LAPL team, that earned 1.5 million points and analyzed 3,000 research movies. The other libraries were Appaloosa, Scotch Plains Library, Akron Library, I remember them from Magathon, Orchard Park, MLCL, Juneau, and Studio City Library Citizen Scientists. So that's a great library turnout. I'm very excited about that, and I hope we can continue to have like maybe a weekly library challenge going on. I had some librarians express interest in doing that. So with those individual and team results out of the way, I'm going to move straight into our overall final results. Again, these results all come courtesy of Agla's careful analysis. We had, okay, so you're going to have to help me interpret this one, Agla. It says 133 catchers have joined. Does that mean that we had 133 catchers who were officially participating, or we had 133 new people join? Can you help me put some interpretation on that? Looking in the chat, 133 participated in the challenge. Okay, I was reading too much into that. We had overall 69 teams. Eight of them, which we listed, were school teams, 7 were library teams. The total number of vessel movies that were watched in the challenge was 214,000 movies annotated. That is an insane amount of movies, and obviously that's not something that could have happened in the lab in such a short amount of time. She says 157,000 of these were real research movies from the data set, the newest data set that's being analyzed right now. That means the others were the calibration movies that we show to, keep track of how much weight to assign to the different answers and so on. And that the research impact measured in lab equivalent days. So this is how long it would have taken the lab to analyze the data that we analyzed during this challenge. It's 205 days of lab work. That's incredible. So that's like that's more than 6 months. That's like 7 or 8 months worth of data analysis. So this is tremendous, yeah, what an amazing result. Yeah, so I'm really so grateful to everyone for participating in this. And so it raises the question again of what is this data set? What are we trying to accomplish in the analysis of this particular data set that was analyzed during the cabin fever challenge? And I know Agla's gonna give me some corrective feedback on this. She's the molecular biologist on our team who understands this at a much deeper level than I do. But as I understand it, you can give mice different kinds of Alzheimer's disease. And I think the original experiment that we're replicating here was using this NOX2 inhibitor, this chemical compound, which is actually a chemotherapeutic drug used to treat people who have cancer. They used this compound and it released the stalls in the mice, that we saw a decrease in the number of stalls in the Alzheimer's mice in the first go around. Then the question was, is the mechanism of action, is the reason this drug compound is working on these mice because of the specific kind of Alzheimer's dementia they had, or the specific reason that they were getting the stalls, or would it work for other ways that you can get Alzheimer's dementia? And if I've understood right, this is testing that same compound again with a different set of mice that have been given Alzheimer's in a different way to see if it still has that same beneficial effect. And so, you know, what do you do with a result like that? I think from what I'm understanding from the research team at Cornell, that we're getting closer to having a very kind of mechanistic model, an understanding of exactly, you know, how each different part of the process of getting Alzheimer's disease with regard to stalling happens. And these results, these positive results with this kind of compound, the NOX2 inhibitor, I think it's one of the most promising results that they've seen so far. So I'm very hopeful about it. I don't know whether that drug itself could eventually become a treatment for Alzheimer's, for prevention or treatment of Alzheimer's, or if they'll develop that into or adapt it into something else. But we check in with them periodically to get updates on how these results are impacting their research, and then we report that back to you through the blog, thanks to Agla's communication of that science. So, so I think that wraps up the results for the challenge. Does anyone have any questions or comments about any of this so far? Everyone's on mute.
Sounds good, Pietro. It's good to hear there's some promise.
Appreciate that, Mike. And you know, I'll tell you, you've shouldered a lot of the weight of the research that's gotten done through you know, the entire time this project has been up and running. So you know, I can't thank you enough for all the contributions you've made to this research.
Well, it's a privilege to be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how you fit it in with all your other you know, you're still an avid runner, right? You must spend, you know, many hours a week out on the roads or out on the trails running.
As many as the parts allow. Yeah.
Right.
Still, yeah. Stardust when that's available too.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. So for, I think, you know, for anyone who isn't aware on the call or who watches this later, you know, Stall Catchers was a project that has deep kind of genetic roots in another project called Stardust at Home that was created by folks at Berkeley, Andrew Westphal and others there, and David Anderson, and I guess, Mike, you were one of the early dusters as well on that project, and that was analyzing space dust, trying to look through aerogel to find tracks of space dust to identify these particles that then, if we could find and analyze those particles, then we could develop a better understanding of the origins of the universe. So I've always found it sort of, I don't know, poetic that we're able to use the same kinds of tools to analyze stardust as we did analyze, you know, blood vessels in a brain. And, you know, it's kind of like the origins of the universe and the origins of life and the origins of thought and information processing are all kind of poetically linked in this way, and that we can use the same tools to investigate all of them. So it looks like Dave just joined us from Memory Cafes, and you missed it, Dave. We already celebrated your accomplishment. I think you and Mike had a team that came in second place in the team competition. So congratulations, and thanks again for your team's contribution to the research.
Well, thank you. I apologize for being late. I was on an earlier, very long-winded call. And believe me, I am not going to take much credit for this. I believe it's Mike who carried the team, and I'm grateful that he joined Team Memory Cafe. So I appreciate that. That was fun to tag along on a second place whirlwind, and it was exciting. So hopefully the challenge for the month was very successful. I'm sorry if you've already covered that.
No, but I mean, we did cover it, but you're exactly right. So, I mean, you summed up in about 3 words what it took me, 27 minutes to say, which it was very successful. We accomplished, I think, like 7 or 8 months worth of research in a single month. So, that's 7 or 8 times as fast as the lab would have accomplished that research. And we're so grateful to everyone, and absolutely, I mean, being on a team with someone like Mike is, I mean, there's a momentum. It's kind of like it's the analogy to running. We were just talking about Mike. Mike is an avid runner, and to me, there's an analogy there where when you're in a race and you start to sort of slow down, and another runner comes up next to you, that runner kind of carries you along. And I feel like, our super catchers do that, and stall catchers, whether it's Bat or Mike or Christian or a lot of our regular top tenors. I mean, they're there, and that's motivation. You see them doing it and pushing the envelope on getting the research done, and I see them, and it makes me want to catch stalls more. So
well, I have to admit, I'm very grateful for his participation, because normally when one says, "Are you kidding me?" it's in a negative situation. I said that so many times throughout the month, going, "Yeah."
Right. It's the good kind of, "Are you kidding me?" Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, so anyway, it's been a lot of fun. I think this reminds me that we haven't done a good challenge in a while like this one, and it reminds me how important these are. Not just to get people excited and catching and so on, but that it does bring us together as a community of people. Some of us have never had to personally deal with Alzheimer's disease, and some of us have. But the nice thing is that either way, we're all kind of working toward a better future together, and I really appreciate that. So I guess we're on the hour. This concludes the Cabin Fever Challenge. Thanks again to everyone for participating, and I think in light of this success and this reminder of how fun these challenges are, I think we'll start to plan more frequent challenges, and hope that you'll all join us for those as well.
I like that as a strategy. With anything, we can all kind of sprint for a little while. Mike is a runner, not he doesn't count. But even us out of shape people can run for a little while, and on a project or a goal. And by having a month or having a target like that, I think was very effective. It motivated me more than normal, and I try to get on every day or two. So yeah, I would encourage those kinds of things, strategically thought through and designed, and I think you'll get another multiplier in lab time every time you do, if it's set up correctly. So thumbs up, well done.
Great.
For this.
Yeah, I appreciate that input. Thanks very much for that vote of confidence. And one of the things I realized is that we haven't that we've traditionally done, and I look forward to doing again soon. I think we tend to do them in the fall. Is our international catch-a-thons. And those are such great fun, because we get to rally all the international teams together, and there's just this tremendous feeling of having folks from all over the world, from every continent except Antarctica, but we're working on that, participating at the same time. So yes, I agree 100% and with what you said, Dave, and we'll look forward to doing more of those. Yeah, great to see everyone. Thanks again for joining. Take care.